Hey everyone, welcome to our deep dive today, all about teacher time management.
Yeah, who hasn't felt like there just aren't enough hours in the day?
Seriously, it's like lesson plans and grading and emails and meetings.
It never ends.
Exactly. But we're going to talk about some real strategies here
Some practical stuff you can actually use.
to get some of that time and energy back.
It's about making intentional choices with your time so you can, focus your energy on what matters.
Right. Our students and our own well-being.
Exactly.
Okay, so how do we make that happen? We hear about SMART goals, but
Does that really work?
yeah, in the chaos of a teacher's life.
Absolutely. But it's not just saying, I want to be more organized.
Right.
You got to break that down into smaller, actionable steps.
Okay, so pick a specific area to get organized.
Let's say math materials.
So instead of organize everything,
Right.
a SMART goal would be organize all the fraction manipulatives by Friday,
Perfect example.
or create a system for storing student math workbooks by next Tuesday.
Yes. See, when you have those clear, measurable goals, it's so much easier to make progress and see results.
And it helps you prioritize.
Exactly.
And speaking of prioritizing, there's that matrix, right? The urgent versus important.
The Eisenhower matrix.
Yes.
Super effective way to figure out what needs your attention now, what can wait, what you can hand off, and what you can just ignore.
Okay, so pretend I'm looking at my to-do list. Parent-teacher conferences are coming up. I've got to finish grading those science projects. There's a staff meeting tomorrow. And, I'm supposed to decorate for the book fair.
Okay, let's sort it out. Parent-teacher conferences,
Urgent and important.
top of the list. Now, grading those projects, important.
Not as urgent as conferences.
Right, so maybe schedule that for later. Now, that staff meeting, probably urgent, it's tomorrow, but is it truly important?
Ooh, good point.
Could you maybe delegate that decorating?
You read my mind. A student volunteer, maybe.
Exactly. So the book fair goes in the
Not urgent, not important.
permission to ignore.
Yes. Okay, so we've got our goals. We're prioritizing.
Yeah.
Now, how do we structure our time? I've heard of block scheduling, but
It's not as intimidating as it sounds.
okay, good.
Think of it like giving each task a time slot in your day.
So like an hour in the morning for lesson planning, an hour for grading.
It's a visual map for your day, so you're not constantly thinking, what do I do next?
So each task has its home in my schedule.
Yeah, exactly. And that helps reduce decision fatigue.
Ooh, I like that.
You've already made the decision, so you can just focus on the task.
I like that. But things don't always go to plan,
True.
especially in a school.
Yeah.
What about fire drills and assemblies and glitter explosions in the art room?
Right. That's why it's key to have some buffer time.
Wiggle room.
Exactly. For those unexpected things that pop up.
This is starting to make sense. But how do I stay focused when there are so many distractions?
The distractions.
Right.
Both in the classroom and online.
Oh, especially online.
One thing that really helps is to declutter your workspace.
Oh, my desk sometimes.
But seriously, when your space is cluttered, it creates mental clutter too.
So a tidy desk really does equal a tidy mind.
There's some truth to that. Just clearing off your desk can help you focus.
Okay, challenge accepted. What about those digital distractions? My phone? It's like a black hole.
Yes, those notifications, but you can take control.
How?
Turn off non-essential notifications, try a website blocker to limit social media, schedule specific times for email.
We're bombarded with information all the time.
It's so easy to get sucked in.
Okay, so decluttering the physical and digital spaces. But can we use technology to our advantage?
You're sure. There are tons of apps and tools, but
I get overwhelmed just thinking about it.
the key is to find what works for you.
Don't use every new app that comes along.
Right. Think about where you struggle the most. Is it scheduling, tasks, communication, and then find tools that address that?
So if I'm always double booking myself,
A digital calendar like Google Calendar would be perfect.
okay? And if I'm overwhelmed by to-do lists,
A task management app like Trello or Asana,
I've heard of Trello. You can make different boards for different projects,
and move tasks around.
like digital sticky notes.
And don't forget templates for repetitive tasks like emails or lesson outlines.
Ooh, work smarter, not harder.
Exactly.
Okay, amidst all this productivity talk, we have to talk about self-care.
Of course.
We put everyone else first, but it's important to take care of ourselves too. How do we make time for that?
Self-care isn't a luxury. It's essential. You can't pour from an empty cup.
Right, but it's so easy to let it slip.
Start small. Maybe it's 5 minutes with coffee before the chaos begins,
Okay,
a 15-minute walk at lunch to clear your head, a relaxing bath before bed.
I love these ideas.
Find little pockets of time to prioritize yourself.
Okay, so we've covered so much. SMART goals, the Eisenhower matrix, block scheduling, minimizing distractions, using technology, and self-care.
It's a lot, but it's all connected.
I'm feeling energized just thinking about all this.
Remember, time management is an ongoing experiment. Find what works for you.
Be patient. Experiment.
Don't be afraid to adjust.
This has been so insightful, and we have even more time-saving strategies in part 2. We'll dive deeper into streamlining your workday and maximizing instructional time.
Stay tuned. Welcome back. Ready to keep talking time management.
Absolutely. Let's get into those classroom-specific strategies.
Okay, one of the best things you can do is establish routines and procedures.
You mean right from day one?
Yeah, the beginning of the year, when students know what to expect, from the minute they walk in, it minimizes those distractions.
And that frees up your mental energy.
Exactly.
Makes sense. When my classroom routines are running smoothly, I definitely feel more in control.
It's like you're all on the same page.
Right, like a well-oiled machine.
Think about it. Every time you have to stop and redirect a student, you lose teaching time.
It all adds up.
So those routines, that's an investment.
An ounce of prevention.
Is worth a pound of cure.
Yeah.
What else can we do to maximize that instructional time?
Good question.
Planning.
Okay, yeah, planning.
It might seem obvious, but having a good plan for each lesson is key.
I used to think I could just wing it,
I think we've all been there.
but a clear plan helps me stay organized. And the lessons are better for the students too. When I'm scrambling, they can sense it.
Absolutely. And a solid plan helps you use your time intentionally. You can anticipate challenges, get your materials ready.
And think about how to reach different learners.
Exactly.
And this is where I have to talk about my teacher card.
Oh, yeah.
Having everything organized and ready to go is a game changer.
It's like your mobile command center.
Exactly. Okay, let's talk about grading.
Ah, yes, the mountain of papers.
Any tips? It feels like they multiply overnight.
It can be overwhelming, but you don't have to grade every single thing in detail.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Start by setting clear expectations for what you will grade.
Like maybe just a certain number of assignments each week.
Or focus on certain skills, not every little detail.
Sometimes we feel like we have to grade everything.
And that's just not realistic. And remember, feedback doesn't always have to be a grade.
Right, like a quick comment can be more helpful.
Or a chat with the student.
So be strategic about what you grade and focus on giving meaningful feedback.
Not just a score.
Exactly.
Another tip, grade in batches. Don't try to do it all at once.
Ooh, that makes sense.
Set aside time blocks for grading specific types of assignments.
It's like that focus thing again.
Exactly. Prevents mental fatigue.
I've also heard of teachers using different colored pens for different kinds of feedback.
How interesting.
Like green for positive comments, blue for suggestions. That way they can scan quickly and see what the student needs.
Love that strategy. Work smarter, not harder. Okay, let's shift gears. Let's talk about collaboration.
Yes. Teamwork.
Working with your colleagues can save you so much time.
And it sparks new ideas.
2 heads are better than 1. You can share resources, plan lessons together.
Or just vent about those tough days.
Exactly. It reminds us that we're not alone.
I remember one time I was stuck on a lesson plan. Completely stuck. I was talking to a colleague at lunch, and she shared an idea she had used.
Yeah.
It was brilliant. Saved me so much time. The lesson was a hit.
Those collaborative moments are gold. They can really boost creativity and morale. Now, before we wrap up this section, let's talk about something that can be a little tricky. Learning to say no.
Oh, yeah. That is a tough one.
But so important.
I know.
As teachers, we want to do it all. Help everyone, go above and beyond. But we can't.
No, and stay sane.
Exactly. Learning to say no, nicely but firmly, is crucial.
It's about setting boundaries.
Right, and being selective about where you put your energy.
Any tips for those of us who struggle with saying no? I mean, it can feel so uncomfortable.
One thing that helps is to really understand your priorities
Yeah.
and your limits.
What are those non-negotiables?
Yeah. What are you willing to say yes to, and what do you need to decline?
It's not selfish.
Right. It's about being intentional with your choices.
Choices that match your values and goals.
Exactly. And remember, when you say no to one thing, you're often saying yes to something else,
It's about being your best self.
both in the classroom and in your personal life.
Okay, listeners, as we head to the final part of our deep dive, I want you to think about this. What's one small change you can make to reclaim some of your time? Maybe it's setting aside time for planning, or being clearer about those classroom routines, or just saying no to one extra thing.
Even small changes can make a big difference. Less stress, more efficiency, more joy in your teaching. Stay tuned for part 3, where we'll wrap up with some final inspiration.
We're back for the final part of our teacher time management deep dive.
We've talked about so many great strategies,
From SMART goals to saying no.
but we have a few more things to share before we wrap up.
Okay, I'm ready. How do we become those time management ninjas?
One thing that really helps is figuring out your peak productivity times. You know, those times when you're most focused and energized.
Oh, I'm a morning person for sure. My brain is working best before the sun even comes up.
Same here. I find I'm most creative and alert early in the day. So the key is to identify those peak times and schedule your most important tasks then.
Like, if I know I'm a morning person, I should block off that time for planning or grading.
And save those less demanding tasks like email or organizing for later.
And my energy's a bit lower.
Exactly. Work with your natural energy, not against it.
What about when we hit those slumps, though? You know, when you're just feeling drained?
Well, first of all, those slumps are totally normal.
Okay, good.
We can't expect to be on all the time.
Right, we're not robots.
Exactly. So when you feel that afternoon slump coming on, maybe don't push through it.
So what? Take a break.
Maybe a short break, go for a walk, do something to recharge.
Sometimes even just a 15-minute walk outside can totally change my mood.
It can make a big difference. And speaking of recharging, let's talk about self-care again.
It's so important.
Taking care of yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, it's crucial for sustainable time management.
It's not selfish, it's essential. We've got to remember that.
Think of it this way. If you're running on empty, you can't be your best for your students, or your colleagues, or yourself.
So true. But how do we actually make time for it? I mean, sometimes it feels impossible.
It doesn't have to be a huge thing. It can be simple.
Like what?
Getting enough sleep, eating healthy foods,
Okay, the basics.
taking short breaks throughout the day, or just doing something you enjoy, even for 15 minutes.
Reading a book, listening to music.
Find those little moments to prioritize yourself.
All right, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with this. Time management is a journey.
Not a destination.
It's about continuous improvement, experimenting, and figuring out what works for you.
It's about embracing that process.
And being kind to yourself along the way.
So much good stuff here.
You have the power to create a more balanced, more fulfilling teaching experience.
By using these strategies, you can reclaim your time, reduce that stress, and really focus on what matters most.
Your students. And your well-being.
So listeners, go conquer those to-do lists. And remember, we're all in this together. Sharing tips and encouraging each other makes the journey a lot more enjoyable.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into teacher time management.
Until next time, happy teaching, everyone.